So now that you've got your bag of tricks and your situations and your solutions all listed out, it's time to go ahead and create this sucker. And what I've done is I've created a little systematic approach to lead gen creation. You can also use this for product creation, by the way. And it eliminates any mental blockage. So we start here. And what we have here, of course, like I said, situation right here, and here's a solution. Now, every one of these little solutions is known as something that I like to refer to as a milestone, meaning that if they want the overall net effect of all of these solutions, they need to accomplish each and every one of these milestones. So if the guy needs more registration, then he needs to get better targeted traffic from his PPC and more traffic from his PPC at that. He needs to potentially deploy paid email blasts for traffic increase. He needs to deploy retargeting. He needs to do a proper email invitation to his existing list. He needs to have a good converting opt-in page instead of what he might be using. And of course, he needs to have good page layout as opposed to what he might be doing. So all of these are something that I call milestones. They're stuff he's got to do. Now, what we have right here is, ta-da, something that I've created for you, and it's called a milestone worksheet. And what it is we start using this to flesh out, or is it flesh out? There's something out. Let's say flesh out sounds better, although it does sound kind of a little weird, really. We use this to flesh out the concepts of what is going to be in our lead magnet or even a product. So right here, we would write the lead magnet name, and then we would list the milestones. So, and underneath the milestone, before I go any further, we have the checkpoints. And the checkpoints are the little things that you have to do to actually pass through the milestone. So instead of me sort of talking about it arbitrarily, I'm going to refer you to the other document that I have for you. And of course, it's below this video as a download. And this is the milestone worksheet example. So we go back to that first situation solution that we identified in our little worksheet that we just did there in the last video. And we say, okay, you know, that what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this prospect 5 steps to double registrations. So each of these milestones is going to represent a step. Now, of course, there are only 4 steps here, so you have as many of these worksheets as you need. You can just print them out or make your own on loose leaf paper, right? So I've just outlined 4 of them for the sake of illustration. So first milestone is better targeted traffic. So now we say, okay, well, what does he have to do in order to get better targeted traffic? And that would be the checkpoints. Now this is, I'm just bullet pointing it out. There's another worksheet we use to really elaborate on all these bullets. But right now we're just getting it out of your head and onto paper so you can just put all the pieces together quickly and easily. So what I've done is I've just written down really quickly, he's got to do competitive research, he's got to do complementary targeting, and he needs to create custom audiences, right? And that's 3 of the things he's got to do. Now I could go on if I wanted to, but I won't for the sake of this demonstration. Our second milestone that he needs is good registration page layout, right? So, okay, what does that mean? Well, he needs to not use out-of-the-box registration pages, first of all. So, you know, the GoToWebinar and Stealth Seminar ones and all that, they're kind of overplayed, so they don't convert as well. So he needs to build his own. What can he use to build his own? Well, he could do it the old school hardcore way using Dreamweaver or whatever, or he could use like really cool template-based things like lead pages or megaphoneapp.com. That's one of my favorites. And then, of course, I could show this prospect examples from my own campaign. Say, now look, here are some layouts that are really, really working for me, and here's the conversion rates and so forth. So that's the second milestone. There are the checkpoints that I can use to flush out the content for this particular milestone. See where we're getting here? And our next milestone would be him fixing his registration page copies. So how can I flush that out? Well, the first checkpoint is he's got to have a good headline, right? So I'm going to give him some good winning headline formulas. And then next thing he's got to have are some bullet points, right? So I teach him how to write curiosity bullets. So the person's going to want to show up on the webinar. And the third thing he's going to need there is the reason why he should attend now, right? So I'm going to show him how to write that type of copy. And we go on and on for each milestone. So no matter how many milestones you might have, it might be as few as 1, it might be 3, it might be 10. This is how you start getting the overall plan together on how you're going to create this lead magnet. So that brings us to the final worksheet. So this is the blank checkpoint worksheet, and what we do here is we take the milestone number. So in this case, I'd say, okay, milestone number 1 is better targeted PPCs. It's like our chapter number 1 of our little lead magnet. The milestone name is better targeted PPC, and I'm going to flush out everything he's got to do for checkpoint number 1, which is competitive research, right? So let me just give you an idea of how that would look. So this is also available for download for you. This is right under this video. Let me make it nice and large here. So this is the checkpoint example sheet, right? So I took all that stuff I just gave you, right? All those worksheets I've already done, and now I'm going to go milestone by milestone and checkpoint by checkpoint. And this keeps me organized. So I'm going to compile as many of these sheets as I need and then build my lead magnet based on these sheets. So milestone number 1 is traffic, right? And I'm putting that just as the general name of it. Now, of course, it's better targeted PPC here, but traffic just sounds a little cooler for me. So that's what I would title my lead magnet. That's what I would make that page, you know, or that the title of that section of the lead magnet would be how to get traffic to your registration page, right? And checkpoint number 1 here, if you'll remember, is competitive research, right? And I've named it research. So here are the steps that they would need to go through for that particular research checkpoint. I'd say, okay, well, first thing they need to do is they need to identify their top 20 competitors in Google search results by searching for the obvious keywords and seeing top 20 guys who are competing with them. Then they need to find and make a list of all their Facebook pages, make a list of all their affiliates and all their affiliates' Facebook pages. They need to sign up for everybody's newsletter, and they need to find other properties that these other guys might own using a ninja search method. And that ninja search method, incidentally, is usually at the end of a web page. It'll say something like copyright, corporate name, corporate address, 2014. Well, you can find everything else that company names to a degree by simply doing a Google search for that exact search term, copyright, whatever it is at the bottom of the page, right? So that might thus lead you to other Facebook pages, other affiliates, other similar related products, other newsletters you can sign up for. So I would teach them to make a list of all that stuff. And our next step, I would say, okay, now that we have the natural search results, I want to identify the top 5 or more advertising competitors in Google AdWords and Bing search ads, etc. And I would do the same thing. Find their Facebook pages, I'd find their affiliates, I'd find their affiliates' Facebook pages, I would sign up for everybody's newsletters, and I would also find any other properties these guys might own using that same ninja search. Now that I've got my list of competitors here, I would then identify any similar sites to them by using compete.com. It's a pretty cool little research. You can type in a website URL and it'll show you similar websites to that one that I might have overlooked. And then I would run the same actions as above on all those competitor sites. So what I want to have ultimately is a list of like 50 or so different competitors and their Facebook pages and their affiliates and their affiliate Facebook pages and all their newsletters. And then I would begin with my next step where I'd start advertising to fans of their Facebook pages, and I'd advertise their email subscribers using Google's Gmail targeting and all sorts of ninja stuff. So all of this stuff is just, all this data that I've just kind of spat out is something that immediately came to mind quickly because I'd already had the overview created here. See, so next I have my complementary targeting, right? So then I would do everything I just did here, checkpoints to completion for complementary targeting. And I kind of got ahead of myself here because technically this is the complementary targeting, right? So then I would give them advice on how to do these 2 steps, and I would do it in a more fleshed out way. And then I would say, okay, also custom audiences. Here's how we create custom audiences and so forth. And I would teach them everything that they would need to do to go through that particular checkpoint. And next thing you know, once I've done all of this, right, with these little worksheets here, I have exactly what I need to get the product created, or in this case, the lead magnet created. So here's what's interesting, right? There's 2 ways to create this lead magnet. Well, there's 3 ways. Number 1 is you could make little videos showing them how to do all this. Perfectly acceptable. No problem. People love videos. If you want to write it, you can, of course, now just use this as an outline and sit down and write it. Or if you hate writing and the thought of writing something sends you into a flashback to like high school English class, I completely understand, you can get out a microphone and start talking and just record yourself talking and explaining how to do this. You can even have someone come into your office and ask you how to do it and you answer them and you record that. And then you can get that transcribed. What you do if you choose to go that route of just recording yourself talking or recording an interview to get it made, you get the recording done, and you know, if you have like a Mac or whatever, you can just use GarageBand. I mean, any cheap little simple recording thing will work. And then you go on over to Fiverr Fiverr, and you just search for transcriptions over here. So here's all kinds of people who will transcribe. So, I mean, look, it's super cheap. For a good, 30-minute or so transcription is probably going to cost you, gosh, I don't know, maybe $100 or something. Maybe it'll cost that much. I doubt even that much, really. Usually mine are around 90 minutes or so because I kind of ramble a little bit. I often have webinars transcribed and then turned into books, and I think it cost me maybe $150 or something for 90 minutes worth of transcription. So what you do after that is, once you have that document transcribed, it's going to be kind of horrible, right? Because if you were to transcribe yourself speaking conversationally, it looks weird on paper, then that shouldn't freak you out at all. So what you do now is there's this little category over here called writing and translation. And within writing and translation, you have, where is it over here? We're looking for editing. So, where'd you go? Editors. Come on. No, not copywriting, not creative writing, not reviews, speech writing, others. Here it is. So we'll have it over here in the others, or you could simply go to editing. And these guys I will edit your book for you. Here you go. So here's one. So you can find all these people that will do the editing for you. And essentially you say, hey, listen, I want you to take this transcript right here that looks terrible, and I want you to edit it and make it read like a pretty good document. And when I have that done, I have massive documents created. I'm talking about like 85-page books done, professionally done, and it might cost me a couple $100 to do. And this is exactly the process that I use. So as you can see, if you use those simple little worksheets that I gave you and you just talk into a microphone conversationally and put a little bit of thought into it, you can actually crank out lead magnets like a madman, or mad person, I should say, more politically correctly, and just have them edited, have them transcribed and edited, and you're good to go. And then, of course, for covers, it's very simple. You just go over here on Fiverr and search for ebook covers, and you can find a nice artist who will do ebook covers for you very inexpensively. Or you can even have one with the dude with his shirt off. I mean, who wouldn't want one of those? I guess depending on the niche, it might make sense. But you see there, everything's available here now on this Fiverr site. It's wonderful, and there's no need to spend a lot of money on this, and there's no need in the world to make it hard, and it's not like high school English class. It's super easy, especially when you use these little worksheets that I've given you. So all the worksheets and stuff are under this video for you to download and fill out. And look, if you go ahead and fill those things out right after we hang up here, for lack of a better term, and record your lead magnet, or just write it if you're good at writing, you'll have one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle already done, won't you? You'll be so far down the road to getting your list built, you just won't believe it, because you'll have the main thing done, which is, of course, the thing you're going to trade in exchange for that email address. So we'll conclude this module here with this video. In the next module, it'll be very, very simple. We're just going to start going over how to build high-converting opt-in pages for your lead magnets. So that concludes this module. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.